Hey there, Word on the Curb podcast family. Thank you for joining me this evening. It's good to have you back. You see what I'm doing? Tea and jazz. Hot tea and jazz. Nothing better. Hey there. Good evening. Tonight, our topic centers around our circle. Our circle being the people, we hook up with. My name is Annette. I will soon be using another name for all podcasting, advertising, and media, as directed by my producer to do. And so I want to let you know that. Disclaimer up front. There's no multiple personalities, there's just multiple things happening, and the need to pull that in and come in under a professional name is important. So we're considering it, just so you know, we're absolutely considering it. But I am Annette. I'm your host here at Word on the Curb podcast. And I'd like you to see us on YouTube, on Facebook at the Black Girls Locker Room, on Facebook at What Trenton Really Makes, and on Facebook at Word on the Curb. On YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, like, ring the bell, and share. We need you. Thank you very much. We have reached over 13,000 people since changing over our name in the last little less than a month. And I'll be sharing those numbers with you because I want to show you how these metrics work and what they actually mean at some point. But again, I'm Annette. Happy to have you back. Thanks for joining me this evening. If you want to comment, please do so in the comments section. This is beautiful weather today. However, what it does to my sinuses is another story. I don't know about anybody else, but when that wind blows, so does this nose. Hot tea helps with the sinus and the congestion. And at times you'll hear it in my throat. So please bear with me as I try to clear my throat to speak clearly. Tonight, here at Word on the Curb podcast, I'd like to shout out Trenton Waves. That's right. Frank and Christina Sasso. Shout out. I'd like to shout out all of the listeners tonight and moving forward when they listen to this. And here's some tea from the curb. Go look it up. Remember, I always tell you to do your own homework. Before we get into our podcast tonight, because I'm loving tea and it's working wonders for me, I want to share a little bit of tea with you. Me and you, a little bit of tea. If you're keeping up with the January 6th hearings and or the former president's indictment, then you'll know that prosecutor means business. That could have been a 2 or 3 page indictment. Instead, it was 46 or 47, I believe. So why am I telling you this? Because I want you to pay attention. Word on the Curb is not just local news. It's local, it's county, it's state, and it's across the nation for those that we reach. And we do have some people out of the country listening to our podcast. And so here's what I want you to know. You ready? 6 people, and it's up to you to go do your homework. I will not name them on this podcast. From the Trump administration's uh, term in the House of Representatives on the Republican side, I hope you're sipping this tea, asked Mr. Meadows. They asked him. They asked Mr. Meadows. They requested. They made an ask of him to issue them general overall pardons. Now, if you don't know what that means, you're not on curve, you're not getting the word, and you don't know what's happening. That's serious business. That means that in addition to those 6, there'll probably be another 10 or 12 other indictments. You heard it here first. Nah, actually, you didn't if you're keeping up with the news, but we like to say that at Word on the Curve. Watch those indictments. Watch the request, the ask for pardons prior to 45's departure from the White House. Yep. Do your homework. The other thing I want to tell you before we get into our topic, which will be short, is if you're ranting and raving on social media, and every time you see your friends how unfair everything is in employment, in contracts, in policy that impact us, what happens in our communities as opposed to others, ours being ours, what happens in our community, predominantly Black and brown communities, if you're ranting and raving about that and you're not voting, go somewhere and sit down, because guess what? You're part of the problem. Your vote determines your voice. Your voice has a say in what policy is being implemented, moved forward, or discussed. And elected officials listen to numbers. Remember that. So, as you're sitting around with your friends and talking about, all the other things that matter, the policy that's implemented by our elected officials impacts all of us. Enough of politics. Politics make the world go round. Don't miss that. Tonight, our topic is simply this: what's in your head? What's getting in your head? What got in your head? What do you surround yourself with? And here's what I want to tell you tonight. I'm no expert, and I always request that you do your own homework. That's critical in everything. Please do your own homework. Okay? I'm just sharing a little bit of experience, strength, and hope here. People you surround yourself with get in your head. That's right. Even though you may not directly feel or understand the impact, there's something called subliminal messages. And sometimes those messages are intended to go beneath your conscious mind. But when people, places, and things are working against you, a subliminal message could simply be the people who have your ear. You may not think so, but that's a reality. The people who have your ear, no matter what you're talking about, sooner or later, in some way, form, or fashion, they get up here. And some people say, I'm too strong for that. I'm not beat for that. I'm not having that. That's not what happens with me. Yeah, if you're human, you're being impacted. You absolutely are. Because your mind is pretty much like, when it comes to subliminal messages, your mind is like a young child who absorbs everything. Although you may not consciously be aware of it, your mind absorbs everything. You may not even remember all of it, but you are absorbing. So, what's getting in your head? Who are you hanging with? Who are your partners? I don't care. Family, friend, foe, lovers, spouses, doesn't matter. If you're with people for any period of time, more than 5 minutes, they're getting in your head. Are you surrounding yourself with people who can help you grow? Are you surrounding yourself with people who know? Or are you simply surrounding yourself? This is an ask. You can come back and comment later if you will. I'd appreciate that. Are you surrounding yourself with people who just blow a lot of smoke, talk loud, always aggressive? Yeah, we done. Da, 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 da. Is that what you're surrounding yourself with? Because see, that smoke is getting in too. It is. And so tonight, our short podcast is not only to pull you up with the word on the curb, what they're talking about out here in these streets regarding those indictments, but also to be mindful of the company you keep. Have your parents ever told you that? Mine did. Be mindful of the company you keep because the company you keep influences you. I don't care how big and brave you are, it applies to all of us. And I've said this multiple times on many different podcasts. They're not erased. You can go back and listen to them. If you hang with bankers, you'll start to think and know some of the things that bankers do. That's simple enough, right? So if you're hanging with people who are doing other things, yeah, sooner or later, there's an impact. Now, we're all adults, or some of us, I should say, are of age. We're not necessarily adults. Adulting is tough. Adulting requires that you be honest with yourself and know who you are. Not all of us who are of age are adulting. So, when it comes to the circle that you keep, if you want to be an architect, don't get with people who uh, think they know about architectural business. Get with the architects. If you want to be an executive, hang with executives. They'll teach you. And another thing is, this generation says, "Oh, it's that was then. It's time for them to move along. Move your experience along and see what your wisdom brings." Experience matters, whether it's from a millennial, a Generation X, a Generation Z. Well, yeah, them too. We love them. Or boomers. I'm a boomer, and I'm telling you, I have tons of experience. I don't know everything, but I have a great deal of experience. I have a phenomenal resume. I earned every bit of it. I have things to share. What doesn't apply, baby? You know, the word on the street, let it fly. What doesn't apply. But the people that you hang around with have a tremendous impact on you in what you do. Hey, Venus, it's nice to see you, darling. They have a tremendous impact on what you do. So it's important to know when it comes to you or your children, doesn't matter, age doesn't matter, the circle that you run with is the circle that impacts you. It is. It really is. And not because I say so. I always tell you to go do your own homework. Don't leave this homework out because when it comes to being of age and adulting, some of us didn't skip the first grade, we completely missed it. Completely missed it in our actions, our behavior, the way we deal with folks. Now, I can learn something from everybody. And everything that gets in your head isn't negative. I said if you want to be an architect, hang with architects, right? Because you can learn from them. Hang with the people you can learn from. If you're sitting in one tiny circle and there's 5 or 6 men in one circle and 5 or 6 women in another, tight circles are good. I tell you all the time, my circle's so tight, baby, sometimes I squeeze myself out. Okay? That's how tight it is. So I respect that. But there's nothing wrong with branching out and exposing yourself to other people, places, and things. That's how we get it. That's how we learn. And for those of you who think you are the inventors of everything, you're not. I posted a meme last week, maybe the week before. I don't remember. I don't keep a calendar anymore. And I'm not going to tell you why. I don't need to. But I posted a meme that said, some people are so serious and they take themselves so serious that when you copy or paste or share their meme, they think it's their meme. They got it from somewhere else. People use memes all over social media, no matter where they come from. If you didn't invent it and it's not trademarked, adulting, coming of age, not always the same thing. Let people live, give people a break. And for you English teachers on social media, please stop. Just stop. Social media is social media. And some of the lingo, discussion, and writing on social media may not meet your approval. But I want you to know something in case you didn't. We're not in the classroom, okay? And your ability to write well doesn't make you the brightest person because sometimes you're obnoxious. Knock it off. Yeah, I said it. You can always come on here and have the conversation if you choose. We're open to it. Word on the Curb is talking about people, places, and things. We are podcasting people. We're people casting. We're talking about what's going on in our communities and what we can do about it. And next up, coming soon with a guest, we're going to be talking about our community. See, we already had the discussion about who owns our community. See, because we're misrepresented there as well. And that's because we're caught up to listening and looking at the things that don't matter. You got to change the game. Buy an old raggedy piece of property and build it up. Get those developers in your ear. Get those business people who have succeeded in your ear. And for the record, starting a business has nothing to do with your credit. Did you hear me? You want decent credit. You do. I do. I finally have it. It took a minute, but I have it because I have a spending problem sometimes. But I'm working on that. I'm on the wagon. I've been on the wagon for a while. And, I'm not giving away as much as I used to. I'm still giving, just not as much as I used to. But the point is here, and I don't want you to get lost in this. Be careful of the people you surround yourself with. Be careful who has access to your ear. Because you're either going to level up or level down. If you're listening and dealing and circling yourself with people who are leveling up, your chances of doing the same are greater. If you are, excuse me, if you are hanging around people who are leveling down, that means they're throwing bricks at the penitentiary. You know what that means? When you're doing illegal things, hoping that you won't get caught. That's called throwing bricks at the penitentiary. Sooner or later, penitentiary gonna catch up with you. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, penitentiary means jail. Jail is not a rite of passage for anybody. And if that's your circle, you might want to take a look at it because you can level up without going to jail. And for all that business mindset that you're using out there on the curb and throwing bricks at the penitentiary because the wrong people are in your ear, you can change that and level up to being a businessman who's working legitimately and using that same process, that same skill set that you're using to throw bricks at the penitentiary, you can use to build a legitimate business. My name is Annette. I am your host here at Word on the Curb. Please remember to see us on YouTube. Hit the like, subscribe, and share, and watch what gets in your ear. Okay? Because what gets in your ear gets in your head. Don't trust me. Just go do your own homework. It's worth it. And besides, you do want to hear some good stuff, right? Find people who are doing what you're trying to do. Level up. Leveling up is not living, behaving, associating with anything that's illegal, because that means you're throwing bricks at the penitentiary. And in case some of you didn't know, and I don't care who you are, we all know what happens in the penitentiary. Okay? Okay? We all know. If you think it's a secret, y'all better go back and check out the girl who gave up the goods. She knew, or he knew, whichever she chooses to identify as. I accept it. No names necessary. Have a good evening. Don't throw bricks at the penitentiary. Level up. Don't level down. Surround yourself with people who can help you get to where you need to be. Okay? Have a good evening. And again, thanks for joining me. Hey, Venus, I love you. Thanks for being here with me this evening. Good night.